his birthday, the young boy received a mysterious box from his scientist father. Rolling up his sleeve, he cautiously reached into the box, and instantly, a mechanical wristband embedded itself on his wrist. Terrified, the boy desperately tried to remove the wristband, but his father calmly told him that once it was on, it couldn't be taken off. "But you have to trust me," his father said before leaving the house and never returning. In the blink of an eye, it was the year 2067, and Ethan, now an adult, still wore the wristband. However, due to environmental pollution and atmospheric destruction, the Earth's oxygen content had plummeted to only 3%, making it impossible to support human life. To survive, people had to purchase synthetic oxygen developed by a technology company. Shockingly, the CEO of the company, Jenny, for the sake of profit, had divided the synthetic oxygen into two purity levels. High-purity oxygen could be delivered to every household like natural gas, while low-purity oxygen could only be used with an oxygen mask and had severe side effects, causing serious lung diseases with prolonged use. Watching his wife suffer the torment of illness every day, Ethan worked tirelessly day and night, hoping to afford the expensive high-purity oxygen for her. One day, Jenny had her subordinates summon Ethan to her office. Before Ethan could understand what was going on, Jenny said to him, "I heard you might be the one who can save the Earth." Ethan looked utterly bewildered, unable to comprehend Jenny's words. Immediately, Jenny took him to a secret laboratory. When Ethan saw his name displayed on the screen of the time machine, he was stunned. It turned out that a few days ago, the time machine had received a message from 407 years in the future, and the message was about Ethan. Consequently, the scientists unanimously believed that the person who sent the message from the future must have some connection to Ethan. Thus, by sending Ethan 407 years into the future, they might find a solution to the oxygen crisis. However, with the current technology available to the scientists, the time machine could only accomplish one-way travel, meaning that once Ethan went, he couldn't return. Hearing this, Ethan, who had no desire to get involved, immediately refused. He stated that his wife was waiting for him at home. Seeing Ethan's reluctance, Jenny immediately began to display her persuasive charm.
"You may be humanity's only chance. You may be your wife's only chance."
Hearing her words, Ethan's heart started to waver, although he didn't understand why people from the future had chosen him. As long as he could cure his wife's illness, he was willing to do anything. Thus, after intense inner turmoil, Ethan ultimately found himself standing in front of the time machine, put on a 20-kilo spacesuit and walked into the time-traveling machine, looking really scared. As the countdown for the journey finished, a massive electric current appeared around the man, followed by a blinding beam of light that instantly transported him to Earth, 400 years into the future. However, due to a deviation in the coordinates, Ethan found himself plummeting from the sky at a speed of 0.8 Mach. With a loud thud, he crashed onto the ground. Meanwhile, the friction between the spacesuit and the atmosphere caused flames to ignite. Ethan swiftly got up, just in time to remove his spacesuit seconds before the oxygen tank exploded. After a brief rest, he followed the navigation device to an abandoned experimental base. His mission for this time travel was to find a solution to the oxygen crisis and transmit it back to Earth 400 years ago, thereby saving the human race from extinction due to low oxygen levels. Just as he arrived at the entrance of the base, he came across a skeletal remains of a human body. While trying to identify the identity of the remains, Ethan noticed a mechanical wristband identical to his own on the skeletal wrist, except the indicator light was green. Moreover, he found a navigation device identical to his own nearby, and astonishingly, his name was written on the back of the mobile device. Ethan was utterly terrified. He quickly searched for any other signs of human presence but couldn't find any after 6 hours of continuous searching. Feeling hopeless, he followed the instructions from the navigation device, managed to start a fire, and found some familiar fruits to satisfy his hunger. However, shortly after eating the fruits, he experienced severe stomach pain followed by intense vomiting. At that moment, a bright light appeared in the sky, descending not far from where Ethan was. A person suddenly emerged from it, causing Ethan to faint instantly. When he regained consciousness, he realized that the figure was none other than his childhood friend, Jack. It turned out that the fruits Ethan ate were poisonous, and upon learning about the high level of toxins in Ethan's blood, Jack defied all odds to come through and administer the antidote. After a night of recovery, all the toxins in Ethan's body had been neutralized. The two quickly rushed to the base, attempting to find a solution to the oxygen crisis. Little did they know, as they crossed a small grove, they would encounter an incredibly terrifying scene. If there's no oxygen left on Earth, would humanity go extinct? Obviously, the answer is yes. Since 2067, humanity has been suffering from an oxygen crisis. They have to wear oxygen masks every day and guard against solar storms constantly. Therefore, Ethan and Jack, in search of a solution to the oxygen crisis, used the time-traveling machine to travel 400 years into the future. But as soon as they crossed a small grove, they came across numerous human remains wearing oxygen masks, clearly indicating that humanity had not found a way to deal with the oxygen crisis over the 400-year span. Ethan felt despondent, believing that the extinction of humanity had become an inevitable trend. However, his childhood friend Jack comforted him, suggesting that this might be the best outcome for humanity, as it would end the suffering of individuals. Suddenly, a mechanical arm emerged from nearby vines, and before Ethan could react, a red light scanned his eyes, unlocking the entrance to the base. Inside, they found a computer flashing a welcoming message for Ethan. Cautiously, Ethan pressed the enter key, inadvertently triggering something. His wristband suddenly tightened, and the red light on it turned green. With the display of DNA verification on the computer, the time machine, concealed in the darkness, was activated. While Jack was ecstatic about being able to return to 2067 with the time machine, Ethan felt a sense of déjà vu since the moment the wristband turned green.
This one, from the skeleton, it was already green.
So what?
It means the dead me has been through this before.
Opening the system logs to understand what was happening, Ethan was shocked to see a projection of his father appearing before him. It turned out that his father had invented the time machine, intending to transport all of humanity to a time with abundant oxygen. However, the financier, Jenny, who provided financial support, believed that only those with superior genes, like hers, deserved to enter the time machine. An altercation ensued, leading Jenny to fatally shoot Ethan's father. Unbeknownst to Jenny, Ethan's father had anticipated such an event and added system authorization during the construction of the time machine, with the only way to revoke it being the wristband on Ethan's wrist. Additionally, Ethan's wife's illness was deliberately orchestrated by Jenny to manipulate Ethan's actions. After uncovering the truth, Ethan decided to bury all of humanity along with his father, pretending to send a message about activating the time machine to the Jenny of 400 years later. Ethan waited for her to attempt the journey, but then sent a bunch of plants back to 2067, blocking the passage of the time machine. He then destroyed the control panel of the base for 100 years in the future, ensuring that this selfish group of humans could never connect to the time machine. In this way, Ethan and Jack chose to remain in a future with abundant oxygen, leaving the rest of humanity to fend for themselves in the oxygen-deprived timeline.